So I'm going to split the video into two halves. For the first half, I'm just going to plug directly into a 2-Rock Classic reverb, and that's a tube amp. And for the second half, I'm going to plug directly into a computer and get a completely clean sound. So you can hear the difference between a very, very clean, kind of clinical computer sound and into an amp. So you can get the idea of how the pedal sounds in both of those situations. So this is the brand new Rise pedal. This is version 2, and it's exactly the same as the original version. Both in controls and layout, except you've got now the ability to switch between silicon and germanium transistors. So the original germanium transistor gives you that very classic sort of treble booster type sound. You can go anywhere from a fuzz-like to very, very, very glassy and clear sounds. And when using the silicon transistor, it gives you a lot more gain and also a much wider range. You get more low end and more high end. So you can get those very, very crispy, sort of clear, glassy sounds. We've also added a control that allows you to adjust how glassy this setting is. So in the normal default setting, this would be a glass setting. But when the edge setting is turned on, this then becomes much more of an edge boost rather than a glass boost, which is great for some of those tubey lead tones. So the controls are as follows. You have a drive control, a volume control, and a glass control. Now the glass control, when it's wound all the way down, and especially combined with the fuzz full setting, will give you very much fuzz-like tones. And as you wind this up, you'll get more and more of the sort of glassy, clean tones, and you can use it more of just a straight boost pedal. So the tone control is a full cut and boost control, and what that means is in the central position, this is the untouched tone. As you turn it down, you'll get a warmer, thicker tone. As you turn it up, it's actually adding top end. You get a much brighter tone. So you also have a toggle switch, which toggles between the voicings of the pedal. In the vintage setting, it's much more of a classic treble booster, a very vocal type sound. In the overdrive setting, you get a lot more low end put in, and you get that very asymmetrical kind of lead sounds, which is great for those very classic tones. And then the fuzz full setting is much more like a fuzz sound, and this is great for those very, very thick and fuzz tones. So let's look at some very basic tones. So we'll just go for just a standard, very sort of glassy tone. This is often the sort of thing done with the treble booster, and they're so great at it. So this is the clean tone. And then with the pedal on. You can just get those really clear sounds where you can actually sort of hear the rattle and buzz of the strings, and add a little bit of that sort of bright glassy top end. And as we move this glass control down, you'll find that you add a little bit more low end and you get less of the high end. And as we wind it all the way down, we'll actually move it into a sort of a fuzz type sound. So this is the germanium transistor. I've got it on the vintage setting. I've turned the tone down slightly and I've turned the gain up because the germaniums are much lower gain than the silicons. And it just gives this very kind of vintage, classic vocal guitar sound. Something I really love about that is it's very, very, very full of character, and of course in a mix it really cuts through. Still staying on the Germanium, we'll switch to the Overdrive setting, and this will naturally give us a lot more drive. Again, much more like an overdrive pedal. You can even just turn it down a little bit and you'll still get quite a lot of gain. The interesting thing about using a pedal like this as an overdrive pedal is you can hear it, you still get a lot of that sort of brightness come through on the strings that with an overdrive pedal is almost always kind of mushed over slightly. This is on the Germanium. I've got it on the fuzz full setting. I've turned the gain down just very slightly. I've got the volume almost at full, and I've just given it a little bit of extra brightness. And you can hear how the Germanium, again, it's sort of more vocally, more like an overdrive, whereas the Silicon has a much more fuzzy quality. That's why we wanted to include both, because they both have some really interesting qualities. If you set the pedal to unity, so it's pretty much matching the volume of your amp, you can really hear the differences. So this is just the clean sound, and then with it on, you can really hear that it just brings to that sort of sparkle and clarity back to the guitar. Again, let's try it on the neck pickup. It just really brings it to life. You can hear that it just... without it. So just for comparison, I thought I'd plug the pedal directly into the computer, so that means no amps and no mics, so there's nothing to sort of color the sound. I'm using an amp plugin in Logic Audio, so it's very basic, and really this is kind of the worst case scenario, but it gives you an idea of how it would sound in a different situation. So here's the clean direct into the computer sound. So I'll put this onto the Germanium setting and we'll get some of those sort of vintagey kind of vocal sounds that we got before. So obviously this is, as you can tell, it's not the ideal setting. Obviously playing through an amp is much better, but you can get an idea of what sort of sounds you're getting. So I'm going to put this back onto the silicon setting. So let's hear what it sounds like if I completely max the pedal out. I can't turn the volume up too high because it'll probably actually clip the audio interface, but this is kind of max gain. I'll put it on the fuzz, so it's let's see what this sounds like.